What is going on, Bar Down Breakdown? We got Nick from the fantastic Bayside
What's up?
joining us to talk some music and hockey today. Nick was actually one of our first guests on the podcast
Wow.
like 3 years ago. It was like episode 5. We're at episode 169. So
Excellent.
it's been a while. A lot has
I'm a
happened. Like
podcaster now.
you are.
Oh my
And
goodness.
and there
It's
was
been
like
so
a
long.
whole pandemic in between the last time we had you on and
Yeah.
everything. It's been kind of wild, but we're super stoked to have you back.
Yeah, thank you.
You guys did your 20-year, then 21st year reunion tour. Well, not reunion tour, just your
Anniversary.
anniversary tour. And a lot has happened. So I'm just super stoked to have you on. And also your hockey team is in the playoffs. So we got to talk about that.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So where do we start? Let's talk Strangest Faces. That just came out like 2 weeks ago, a week ago. It's
About 9 days.
9 days.
Yeah.
Yeah. So already 134,000 streams. Like that is
Yeah.
kudos to you guys. Still doing it all these years, just crushing it.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's huge numbers, man. I'm
Yeah,
sure you
I
guys
mean,
are
one
pumped.
one thing I've kind of I use Spotify, and I assume you're using the Spotify with that number. But there's also plenty of other places that it's streaming, so it must be more than 134,000.
Oh yeah,
like
like
whatever Apple Music
yeah.
is. So yeah, I mean, our career, we're lucky enough that our fans are still just as engaged, if not more engaged now than they've ever been. And we're super appreciative of that. And whenever we're writing songs, we keep them in mind. Like we're not trying to change our style so much at any point where someone who's liked us for 20 years, 10 years, whatever it is, starts to question what we're doing. So a song like Strangest Faces, and we have a couple other songs in the can already recorded. We just try to get better. I don't know. Like it's really hard to explain. That sounds so simple, but we try to have like this basis of what our sound is, and we just constantly try to grow it and make it appealing to new people if they're hearing us for the first time, but also keep every single one of our fans that we owe so much to happy. And here now we have this new song.
Yeah, and like you said, 20 years of doing this, over 20 years of doing this, and like you guys have the Bayside as a cult, like saying I think it's true. Like your fans are sticking with you guys all these years, and like it's crazy the Spotify number game and like all of those things where at the end of the day you guys are still filling rooms, and like
Yeah.
that's what's most important, and like you're getting on all these big festivals, and it's lovely to see, man. I'm super stoked for you guys.
Yeah, thank you. It's it's a never-ending process. It's the never-ending process of a middle-class band. We know we could never rest on our laurels. I'll probably say how appreciative I am of our career and our fans a million times while we're talking. But it's just any misstep or missed opportunity or anything. I think as popular as our band is, we would like feel it. Like it would kind of hurt us. So we're as calculated as can be, and we work as hard as we ever have, and it's just great that we have so many records and songs, and we're going on tour thrice in probably about 10 days. So yeah, I mean, it's really, like you said, it's about touring and filling those rooms, and that's been our bread and butter forever. I mean, even when there was it's really kind of a weird thing how the trajectory of the last, like, I don't know, 20, 25 years of being in a band has changed, going from selling CDs to selling no music because of Napster and digital downloading and stuff, and then iPods kind of starting to correct the whole course. Then streaming makes every song ever in your pocket, but we don't get paid for it. So that's terrible. But all throughout all of that, if we weren't constantly growing and selling more tickets every tour, we wouldn't be a band. And that goes for every band. I mean, it's really the most important thing is selling merchandise and buying tickets. So our fans support us endlessly when it comes to that.
Yeah, and there's just that crazy shift because with these TikTok bands that are blowing up now. They have millions of monthly
Yeah.
streams, but then can't get 20 kids to their
Yeah,
shows.
yeah.
And you know, a stream at the end of the day, what does that mean? It's the fans that are super loyal, that are willing to go out on a Tuesday night to go to a show. Like that's something that you guys have been building for 20 plus years. So
Yeah.
that's not going away.
No, it's a part of the culture. I think, I mean, to this day, I still go to a million shows a week. I'm lucky enough that right now I've been home during like a good spring touring season. So I have severe FOMO when it comes to like missing bands on tour. So there's plenty of times where I'm going to 3 or 4 shows a week, and it's still a huge source of joy for me. And I always have this kind of, when I'm seeing one of my favorite bands kind of crush it on stage, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to go back on tour. Like I can't wait to go do this. So it's almost like fuel for me. So right now I'm really stoked. I'm a little stressed because we leave in like, I don't know, 10 days or so, and I have so much on my plate, but I'll make it all work. And once we get on the road, I'll just be real happy. That's for sure.
So I'm guessing like it's got to be more than just like getting your laundry ready at this point.
Yeah, it's a lot. Well, really the biggest thing, and this is like super nerdy, but Star Wars Celebration, which is like the big Star Wars convention, is actually here, like a town over from me in Anaheim. And that is this Thursday through Sunday, and I leave for tour Tuesday. So I basically, the second half of this week is spoken for. Like 24 hours a day is basically spoken for. Then I have about 1 day to do laundry and stuff like that. And then I'm hitting the road. And thankfully, it's only about a 3-week kind of mini tour with Thrice coming up. So it's not too long, not too long of a tour. So packing I could probably do in 10 minutes for a 3-week tour. That doesn't seem difficult at all. So it's more about, I'm working through, I'm on like long-term injured reserve right now. My right middle finger on my right hand, I busted a tendon 6 weeks ago today. So that has stopped me from being able to rehearse. And I'm actually going at 8:45 Monday morning to the orthopedist to see if I could kind of take this splint off and start using my right hand properly again. So that's a whole other thing. It's like I need to rehearse for tour, but I have not been able to. So that's just adding to my my stress right now.
Was that a hockey injury?
It was this is normally a sports injury. It's a football and baseball normally injury because you kind of just jam your finger. Either like quarterbacks will jam fingers on helmets. Baseball, obviously, basketball, you could just jam your finger on just about anything. I haven't really heard of it in hockey. This, however, was me jamming my finger on my car seat when I went to go pick up my sunglasses. And I picked up the sunglasses to go put them on my face, and I noticed that from like my top knuckle to the tip of my finger was just hanging. No pain. No, nothing. Like I couldn't move it. So I was like, this is really weird because I assume if I can't use something, it's broken, but there's no pain. So I went immediately to urgent care, and it's something called mallet finger. It's just basically I ruptured the tendon that is, 3/4 of an inch long from the top knuckle, and I just couldn't move my finger, from the top knuckle to the tip of my finger. I couldn't move it. And the recovery time is 6 to 8 weeks. So today is 6 weeks. So I'm hoping I get good news tomorrow morning.
Jeez.
Yeah. Very annoying.
Reaching for your sunglasses.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, it's sunny out. Let me get my sunglasses.
Oh, jeez. I got to be careful now. I'm just gonna. I'm gonna get
paranoia, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna get the. I forget what those things are called that you can like put on the back of your sunglasses and just wear them now, so I don't have to reach.
What are those called? Croaky something, I don't know. I can't there.
I don't remember. I don't think I ever knew what they were called. So like you mentioned, you're a podcaster now. You got 2 of them. So or is there more than 2?
No, 2.
So
definitely.
Like doing this on the road, are you bringing all of your equipment out to keep
it
going?
It's pretty simple. I did it on our 21st anniversary tour. I just have a mic and I record directly. When I'm doing my radio show, that's just me, so I can kind of do it at any time. And I just have this mic and record directly into Anchor. which is super easy, and the Star Wars podcast, Thank the Maker. Yeah, I mean, I really just need somewhere quiet and a microphone, and I can make it work. Last tour though, I missed about half of those. Like that one was a little tough. Not necessarily because I didn't have time, but like my time off didn't align with everyone else's recording schedule. So we'll see. I'll there's three hosts and there's backup hosts and there's guests. Like I miss doing it because I talk about Star Wars regardless of whether I have a podcast or not. But they'll be fine without me for a couple of weeks.
Hell yeah. And you do that show with the dude from Yellow Card, William Ryan Key, and the bassist of Story of the Year, right?
Yeah,
so
Adam Russell. Yep.
Yeah, so you got kind of a crossover of your own, like the alternative music and Star Wars crossover.
Exactly.
I love that.
Yeah. I mean, it's been fun. I mean, the story goes is I was actually, when they started the podcast pretty early on, I was a guest on their podcast also, like maybe even episode 5. I don't know. But it was.
Watch out, Tommy's coming for you.
Yeah, they were. They actually came to my house where I am recording right now. We talked about the movie Solo, and the next day Ryan hit me up and was just like, "Man, that was really awesome. Like, would you? We've been talking about how cool that was. Like, do you want to like be the third host?" And basically what I just said to you, I'm like, I'm going to talk about Star Wars regardless. I might as well do it into a microphone. So here we are. We're like 115 episodes in.
Unbelievable. That's awesome. And I'm going to admit it right here. I, over the summer, watched Star Wars for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because I didn't have like that nostalgic, like
totally, yeah,
feel like connection.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's going to be for me. Like I went in and I was just like, man, I really want to like just be invested into Star Wars like everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess because I also like watched the first one or the fourth one or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And obviously like technology in movies has just come such a
totally. So my whole spiel with that is like people ask me, it's like, oh, I've never watched Star Wars. What order should I watch it in? And I'm like, it's a little bit of a tricky question, and the proper way, I think, is to watch like episode 4, 5, and 6, so the original ones. You have to understand the gravity of how those films were made. Like nothing even remotely looked like that in 1977, and there were movies afterwards that looked bad. It's not like they were so far ahead of the game with their graphics and just practical effects and all these things that stuff after it for the next decade still looked like garbage compared to it. So they were so ahead of the game. It changed the world. It was like the first like huge like sci-fi blockbuster type of thing. So you kind of have to keep that in mind while you're watching those. And then I would almost say you watch those just to know how it changed the world, and then watch it all in order again, including 4, 5, and 6. Then go watch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 again, 7, 8, 9, just to stay with to this, pick up the whole stories. But I get it. I fully, when people ask me, and I say exactly what you said. Like I'm almost 42 years old. I grew up with it. It's a huge source of joy in my life, and to be a part of such a huge community now with podcasting and costuming and just collecting and all this stuff. It's a lot more than just the movies for me. And it's tough though. Those movies, the only way I could say, like, if the technology is like a bum out, just think that like go watch like the Star Trek the movie, which came out like after Star Wars, and look at how bad it looks. Like the technology was groundbreaking, and it continues to be groundbreaking. So yeah, I fully get it. It's a tough one to kind of go back on if it was never really your thing.
Yeah, I blame my father. He didn't get me. He didn't get me into
I mean,
it.
what's cool to me is that like it's been an entity for my whole life, obviously, and people have different entry points, and it's not always just the original movies. Like there's the prequels. So like you have kids that are like 30 now, maybe 25 now, that's their Star Wars. And then even around 2008 or 9, a huge animated show came out, and that's some people's entry point. Now there's like younger kids who are into the sequels. I mean, I like it all, but because it's a generational thing, there's different entry points for people. So not everyone's into the originals. Like I'm sure everyone who likes Star Wars is into the originals, but it's not necessarily everyone's favorite at this point.
And then obviously, being associated with Disney these days has taken it to a completely different level.
Yeah, it's
And
a lot.
I noticed that you guys went to like their new kind of like Starship Cruiser.
Yeah.
Like it's like a 7-day thing or a
Oh
5-day
no, I
thing.
wish it's like a 2-day thing,
It's
barely.
oh, it's only 2 days. Okay.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
does it feel like you're on a cruise? Have you ever been on an actual
I've been
cruise?
on
Is
a
it
cruise, and there's a lot of baseline cruise things that they do. It's meant to feel like you're in space. There's no windows in the place, and that doesn't bother me at all. It was amazing. Like anywhere where there should be a window, there's just giant LED screens that make it look like you're flying, and they're constantly in motion. It's basically the best way I could describe it is it's like a live action role playing dinner theater hotel. There's so much going on at all times. You get to kind of choose your own involvement with how much fun you have. But there's multiple stories going on all at once. So you could kind of choose your path, whether you want to be like good guy, bad guy, like shady guy. like there's definitely different roles you could play. And the more you get into it, the more fun you have. And it's really hard to explain or even show people pictures or videos and make it look cool. It's like the coolest experience I've ever had, and I don't know how to tell people how cool it was without them just like going and experiencing it. Because you film it and you're like, that kind of looks cheesy. This picture kind of looks cheesy. I talk about it and I'm like, oh, cool, live action role playing dinner theater. I'm like, I don't know what to like. It was so much fun. Like there at every point of that like 48 hours, everyone who's in the hotel is like kind of dressed up. Like at least 80% of the people are dressed up as either some sort of character or something like that. It's like this is as close as we're gonna get to like living Star Wars, and it's obviously not for everyone, but for someone like me and everyone I was with, it was absolutely like just so much fun.
And are you allowed to leave? Or like once you
Yeah.
go in, you're
Mhm.
in there for the 2 days, and there's
Yeah, I mean, yeah, obviously you could go do whatever. I heard of somebody who didn't even want to stay in the hotel, and they actually stayed in a different hotel and just came back in the morning. And on the second day, they bring you. It's pretty much right behind Galaxy's Edge in Disney World. So you on the second day they give you like a 8 hour window or so to go to Disney World. Basically, I mean, because I live close to Disneyland, I only spent like 3 or 4 hours in Galaxy's Edge out there because I knew like I've experienced that a million times at this point. So I really wanted to just go spend more time like actually on the ship. And yeah, you could definitely leave if you want to, but it was more like, man, I don't even want to like go to sleep. I was having such a good time just admiring everything. And really the coolest thing is, which like for us, we were the second voyage ever. It started on March 1st and we were March 3rd. So
oh
only
wow.
one group of like pedestrians had been on it before. So we had like this absolutely shiny brand new toy with like the cast and crew was still like fresh, like everyone, even they were having a great time still, which I think in a couple of years it'll like kind of mellow out a little bit, but maybe not. I don't know. It's expensive, so you got to get your money's worth, and hopefully it seems like it's doing well. Like it seems like it's constantly booked months out. So yeah, I mean, I recommend it if you're even like a medium sized Star Wars nerd. Like save your money and go experience that because there's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, I need something like that, like a Mighty Ducks inversion.
Yeah. Well, that's honestly, I came on like again, I was having a really hard time trying to explain to people why it was so cool, and I always said like I wish every fandom had this experience, whether it was Mighty Ducks like hockey or a Marvel thing or whatever. And in a weird way, I say there's a lot of pressure on this particular project to do well, and if it doesn't, then we're not getting a Marvel one. We're not getting a whatever, like we're not getting a Harry Potter one, whatever it is. So it's like a lot of pressure on this Star Wars one. And it could only get better. Like if they built a Marvel one that came like that opened in the next 5 years, it would be a lot better than the Star Wars one because they're learning. You know, they probably have new technologies and all that. So, yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that it's successful. So, like these creative endeavors that Disney is inventing, we get more of them, basically.
That's awesome. So, like at this point of your podcast, did Disney reach out to you guys since you guys are like Star Wars influencers, I guess, at this
No,
point?
they did do before the first voyage. There was like a Star Wars influencer like voyage that went on like a week or so before us. No, we bought tickets. So, you know, that goals for sure. Those are
Oh
our
yeah.
goals to get acknowledged by any Lucasfilm entity. You know, like I'm sure they know of us, but yeah, for us to be like officially invited for free or anything like that, that didn't happen. We forked out our own money.
Like you said, though, goals, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Just keep it. Podcasting's a grind, man. It really
Yeah.
is. As you know, at this point,
hmm
it's a lot of
It
time goes into it, but
Yeah. I mean, it's worth it. You know, I think it's obviously it's fun. You have to be passionate about what you're talking about, and also realize that you don't need like 100,000 listeners. You know, a good core base will suffice. Obviously, you always want to grow and be more successful, but there's so many podcasts, obviously, that you have to figure out what your niche is, and then like make those people happy.
amen, amen. So you're a man of many projects, and you just announced a couple of days ago that you're going to be doing a children's book. So I just
Yeah.
want to hear all about that because that's so awesome.
Well, I'm friends with a company over in the UK called HE Creative, and they're kind of like a punk rock, alternative rock, like music oriented design company, and big Star Wars fans also, which is actually kind of like our connection, our original connection, and they started to pump out books with like HR from Bad Brains, Toby from H2O. They worked with Epitaph Records. They, you know, they'll just do books like the ABCs of punk rock and emo, or E is for emo is one of their books, something like that. So I don't know. It just one day I was just thinking about everyday life things, you know, like I don't know, and somehow I was like we need to like I wish that it was simpler to tell kids how simple like how you need to be kind to people that are different from you as long as they're also nice and accepting, you know. And it's like you I feel like I've growing up, like my parents did a good job, thankfully. They kind of just let me do my own thing but didn't really push me in one direction or another. But at the end of the day, you know, it was always like, well, if this person's being mean to you, then don't associate with them. And I think that what's happening in the world lately is like we're conflating like different views as like wrong views, where basically the bottom line of my book is like be nice to everyone unless they're a dick. You know, it's a children's book, so I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it that bluntly, but if you know, I have it as simple as like the one page that I've released so far is like some people like dogs, some people like cats, and that's okay. You know, it's not I like dogs and you like cats, you're wrong. You know, like that's where the world seems to have been heading in the last couple of years. So it's just like, no, there could be conflicting ideas, and as long as people like are kind and have a, a general appreciation for each other, then it's fine that people are different. We should celebrate the differences instead of looking at them as a negative thing. So I'm only smart enough to write a children's book. I can't write an actual novel. So I went down the road of just writing out the story, kind of. Sent it over to my friends, and they were interested in doing it. So that's for pre-order right now. Everybody who pre-orders it, I'm gonna put together a little like video of me reading it, like just doing a read through. So anyone who pre-orders it will get that, and I think it's going to press next month. So, yeah, I won't have it on tour or anything like that, but because I think it's actually going to go to press, as far as I know, next month.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to pre-order a copy
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I'm a third grade teacher, and that sounds like a perfect
Awesome.
like beginning of the year read aloud.
Yeah, that's great.
Hell
I
yeah.
hope you do that.
Yep, definitely going to. So, um, before we talk a little New York Rangers hockey, I just
Hmm.
want to talk about just you know 21, 22 years ago when Bayside was starting out, and
Hmm.
the Long Island music scene, because we grew up there. We're actually from the same hometown,
Hmm.
and it's a special place, and a lot of those bands are still around, and very important bands in the alternative music sphere. So
Hmm.
I just want to hear like your experience of let's just say the downtown. So like that place for me is so important. And if
Hmm.
Tom was here too, he would say it as well. Like when we were first going to shows in 2001,
Hmm.
2002, that was the place. And
Yeah.
you're a couple of years older than us, so
Hmm.
like do you have that connection to the downtown like that's my place.
Yeah. I mean, I there was a time in my life where I would like daydream about playing shows, and for some reason it was always at the downtown. And but that just had to do with like the layout of it, kind of like, and that for a good portion of my early Bayside career, like that's where some of our, like at the time, our bigger shows were. Um, but yeah, I mean, I started going to shows, when I was 15, maybe, and that was always, it was such a crapshoot because they would either be in VFW halls or like really shitty bars or warehouses, and nothing was really, I don't want to say nothing was legal, but shows were getting shut down by cops a lot. um, Obviously, no one was doing anything wrong. They were like $5 shows in warehouses where everyone was straight edge, and it was just, it was unlawful gathering, basically. But something like the downtown, being able to properly put together shows and host touring bands and stuff like that was is pivotal. I don't think the downtown was very big. I think it was like maybe 500 people fit in there, so
Oh yeah.
it wasn't a very big place, but it was important to have a legal place for bands to play, which is probably why right before like that emo boom happened in the early 2000s, it was really important to have a proper place for, like, for instance, Motion City Soundtrack to show up and play, because a band that
I
was,
saw them there.
yeah. I kind of feel like I played with them at some point there. I don't really remember. I don't know if that was Bayside or I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it was very much so an important place. But yeah, I'm a little older, so like my places had a lot to do. Like the places I went to go see shows was more like VFW halls, and in particular in Lindenhurst, there was the nonprofit organization called the People with AIDS Coalition, and it was PWAC for short. That was where I went to my first show, some of my favorite shows ever, and that was just a warehouse off Route 109. And that was there for years. And I think because it was attached to a nonprofit, I think we got a little bit of leeway there. And there was also just like a lot of space for people to hang, so they didn't have to be like kind of out in public that much. So if there were a couple hundred people at the show, they would just be like in a parking lot, not near any businesses. There wasn't much to complain about for people. So yeah, I mean, I think once people like, for instance, like Christian McKnight, who's still a promoter with Live Nation now, like once he really started to like find places to properly put on legitimate shows, I think that really solidified a lot of the scene for Long Island.
Now, like when you were in that moment, like the emo boom in the
Mm.
early 2000s, did you like realize how special like all the bands on Long Island at that time were? Like were you aware of just how special it was? Or was
Um,
it just kind of like,
it's hard. It's twofold because first of all, I'm talking like I'm 23, 24, and my own personal story was a little weird because my band Silent Majority, which was like a bigger band on Long Island at the time, like not many were bigger in that like 97 to 2001 era. Um, we had broken up in 2001, early 2001, I want to say. And I kind of had a weird couple of years after that because I was super bitter that we broke up. Like I was I loved being in the band. I felt like we had so much more to give, and it was like pre-social media, so we were like really only big on Long Island, and then like randomly in North Carolina because we would like play there once every couple of months or something like that. Um, we had only done like one or two full US tours, and it was hard in 1998 to know touring bands, you know. Like, so we would go on tour, and if there was 15 people at the show, we'd be like, well, I hope they liked us, and I hope they come back next time with some friends. It's a pre-social media and internet touring was for sure strange. But I don't like, because from like the ages of 21 to about 24, I didn't really go to shows a lot on Long Island. Like, I was aware of what was going on with like Taking Back Sunday and stuff like that, but there was a sense of I'm young and I'm jealous because my band broke up. And not for nothing, the first time I heard Taking Back Sunday, I was like, they sound like my band that just broke up. What? And they're so popular. What the hell? So that was like me just being a little like immature, but I was 23 years old. So um, then once I joined Bayside, and we've never not been like a middle class band, then I start to have another part of me that's jealous. That's like, why is My Chemical Romance so big? Why is why is Brand New so big? Like, what are we doing wrong? You know, why did Hawthorne Heights just run 10 laps around us? What are we doing? You know, it's like, and you just, I always come back to this point now that music and entertainment in general is like not a meritocracy. It's not all about hard work. You know, like people get breaks here and there, so it's not just how hard you work. Hard work will like keep you afloat. You have to be some sort of talented, and people got to like you. So to answer your question, because I don't think I did yet, it felt special. It felt like things were blowing up when like you got to play something like Skate and Surf Festival in New Jersey, and it was like every band from the genre, or most bands from the genre, and there were thousands of people there, and it was like, wow, it's really having a moment, you know. And I think like this was like the generation after Green Day too. This was like Blink 182 generation. So, and Blink 182 was taking out Saves the Day and Newfound Glory and bands like that, and it was like, wow, like this next generation of bands that we're like kind of playing with are on MTV. They're playing with Blink 182. Like they're kind of right there. So there was always something, you know. And then obviously like My Chem blew up and Paramore blew up, and like we played with those bands, you know. So like it was a really cool thing to start seeing those bands be, even though like MTV wasn't what it was in the 80s or early 90s, it still existed then, and it was cool to see that like bands from our genre succeed and be uh, on MTV or Fuse or something like that.
Yeah, it was like, even for someone that was a fan, it was I don't know how there hasn't been like a movie about it yet,
Yeah.
because it was just such an important time for alternative music. And I don't know if it's going to be like mainstream like that ever again, you know, with
It's
being on
tough.
teen movies and,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
TRLs and Steven's Untitled Rock Show. Like
Yeah.
that, I just can't see that happening
Well,
again.
everything's so fragmented now because of the internet, which I think is I would say it's a positive thing, because like I said about like there's a million podcasts, and you know you only need either a couple hundred, couple thousand people to like feel successful and have, and it's like kind of the same thing with a band, you know. Like there are bands that probably have like satellite radio or TikTok hits, like you said, that can't draw 1,500 people like we can, you know, like,
Yeah.
but I would kill to get the Strangest Faces video to have 1 million views, you know. I would like, if it's not going to happen, I know it's not going to happen. I'm not holding my breath, but some kid on TikTok could do something and have 1 million views in 2 days. And it's like, all right, well, we're going to sell more tickets than you. Like, I don't know. I don't like, I wish there was, I wish it was a little less sporadic with how things went, and you could kind of, like I said, work hard towards something, but it's just not how things go.
Now, I'm just curious because, you know, in that Long Island circle that you guys were running in was one of my favorite bands, and still one of my favorite bands, As Tall as Lions. And
Mm-hmm.
like, are you aware of Dan and what he's like gone on to do now? Like he
I've
just
heard
won.
like some chatter here and there, but fill me in because I don't
Yeah,
know for sure.
so he just won a Grammy. He produced that Olivia Rodrigo
Oh, nice,
album.
awesome.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy like to hear like his name in pop culture
Yeah.
circles, and it's like, wait, that's As Tall as Lions. Like that is
Yeah.
Long Island
That's great.
band right there.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
kind of wild.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I did not know that.
Yeah, it's I think it just shows the type of talent that was really on Long Island at that time. Like
Yeah.
these
I
musicians
mean,
were just unbelievable.
yeah, and there's something about like believing in yourself and like liking what you do, and maybe your band didn't necessarily work out, but not being like, well, my band didn't work out, so let me go get an office job. You know, like some people are just like music moves them and is their life, and maybe the band didn't work out, but songwriting or producing or touring in another sense does work out, you know? So there's a couple of people that I would say that I like grew up with from 95 through now, that I'm like, oh, that dude's guitar teching, cool. You know, like I used to go to shows with him. You know, it's like he became a lifer kind of thing. And most people aren't that way. Most people are like office job people after a certain point. And I don't know. It shows like to a lot of people, unfortunately, like finding the scene is like a moment in time. You know, like it's a dare I say trend for a lot of people. You know, and then they're embarrassed to see pictures of themselves when they're 21, and it's like, I'm not embarrassed. I'm still like, yeah, my hair sucked back then, but like I'm still doing it. I believed in it since I started playing music, so it's a big deal, you know. And it feels good. I'm glad that I'm still doing it. I don't ever think I won't be doing it in some respect. And uh that's like my goal now that I'm older. You know, I'm like kind of middle aged. I'm like, it was always like, oh, I hope I could keep this going. And now it's like, no, I know I could keep this going. Like, this will be good. You know, like you see bands like Bad Religion and they're pushing 60 at this point and they're touring, you know, just as much as, you know, maybe not as they ever did, but they're touring a lot. So it's like, as long as health is on your side and, hopefully we don't have any more pandemics. It's like, yeah, I'm sure people are going to see Bayside for the next 20 years at least.
Yeah, it's funny because one of my good friends from high school, when he went to school to be a trumpet player, so like he studied jazz at University of Miami, and he ended up landing a gig with Casey and the Sunshine Band. So
Nice.
like obviously disco has come and gone, and like it's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
around anymore. But he was like, "Yo, come out to a show one time. You got to see like just how crazy it is." I was like, "All right, I'll go." And it was like him and Taylor Dane, like Casey and the Sunshine Band and Taylor Dane,
Yeah.
and they filled a whole entire like abandoned airport. Like it
Yeah.
was an abandoned airport in
Yeah.
upstate New York, filled the whole entire place.
Mhm.
And this is, probably 30, 40 years after disco was taking
Yeah,
off.
yeah.
And he that dude has made a career of it. He's
Mhm.
just going to be, shake your booty or shake your
Yeah.
groove thing for
Yeah.
forever.
Probably playing like county fairs or something, you know,
Yeah.
like forever. And it's that there is, you know, I think there's a part of getting older where, you know, you're nostalgic for a time or nostalgic for things that made you feel happy before you had like adult kind of things going on. That happens to every generation, and I do think that because our band's been a band for going 22 years at this point, we're seeing the people who were like 15 when they found out about us. They're 35 now, and they're nostalgic for when they didn't have a mortgage and kids and and stuff like that. And that's a real thing, you know. That's why things from our youth, like entertainment from our youth, is getting remade now, because this is just the actual like circle of life. Is like people in our age group are now like Hollywood producers, and they're like, you know, it would be cool, let's make a Chippendales Rescue Rangers series for Disney Plus. You know, it's like, I used to watch that every day after school. Now I'm a producer. Let's do this. And like, that's gonna keep happening to every generation. It's like a weird part of just, I don't know, capitalism. You know, it's like, it's easy. It's super easy to just like prey on nostalgia, which, you know, I feel like I'm using weird words, but I'm all for it.
I don't know if I'm all for the Mighty Ducks rebrand though. That
Uh,
one
yeah.
wasn't
It was
for
just
me.
not for us. I feel like
Yeah,
Disney
it
was just
wasn't.
like, we're gonna use this intellectual property, and it's gonna be for kids. It's not gonna be for people who were kids.
Yeah, true that. Well, I do want to jump in and talk a little Rangers hockey, but before I
Yeah.
do that, I just have to let you know about our sponsor real quick. So, hockey fans, the pursuit for the Stanley Cup is on, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, has an unbelievable offer for the most exciting playoffs in sports. New customers can bet $5 on any team to win and get $100 in free bets, no matter what, win or lose. Looking to turn a small bet into a big payday during the playoffs? With DraftKings same game parlays, you can do just that. Your own parlay by combining multiple bets like which team will win, how many goals will be scored, and more. It's your shot at an even bigger payout. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet $5 on any NHL team to win and get $100 in free bets no matter what. That's code THPN at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Minimum age and eligibility apply. Notes for details. So let's talk Rangers, man. So
Yeah.
I was a little worried when we decided to record today after game 3, and I was like, geez, if they're down 0-3, I don't know how happy Nick's going to be.
Yeah.
But here we are, and you guys pulled off a pretty exciting performance and pulled off the. So how are you feeling about the series, and especially about today's win?
Yeah, I mean it's been wild. Like just to talk about the whole year in a nutshell. Like anyone I hear talking about like especially before the All-Star break, like how much Shesterkin is like just the reason why the Rangers are good, I'd be like, yeah, no, you're right. Like the team's playing like garbage, but like they're winning, like they're finding their way. After the All-Star break and even before the trading deadline, way different team and they were winning a lot more. Then the trading deadline they crushed, so they looked like a legitimate team. I was happy when they got the Penguins in the first round because I knew they were better than the Penguins. I knew it would be sketchy to play Crosby and Malkin and Letang. And for the first time all year, the Rangers were just not playing well. And that was really hard for me to accept because I knew they were a good team. I knew they were a better team than the Penguins. And they were handing the Penguins leads and games and all this stuff. And that was truly like the worst I've felt since like our last kind of cup run years, like where we would go to the Eastern Conference Finals and the Stanley Cup Finals. Like those were years where I had expectations, and that's kind of the thing here is like I had expectations of the Rangers to definitely, if they're going to play well, beat the Penguins. And they were just game after game handing the Penguins goals, leads, wins, all of it. So then they looked nervous too. Like they truly looked nervous. Like even Stephen Valiquette on one of the like post games were like they're choking, and I'm like, thank you for using that word. The Rangers are truly choking right now. They figured it out, and my main goal going into the playoffs for them, like what I wanted to see the most, my expectation was for they're a young team. I wanted them to win. I wanted them to face adversity and do well in the face of adversity. And like I said, they were choking and they figured it out. And now in the second round, these are the 3 best games they've played so far. They're down 2-1, but they've played the 3 best games, like full, complete. They don't look nervous. And the Hurricanes are a hell of a team. So like when they beat the Penguins, I was like, all right, this was kind of my Stanley Cup for the Rangers this year. I wanted the kids to learn. The kids looked great. They got the nerves out of their way, and like that's really it. Like I don't expect them to win the cup this year, but in order to win a cup in the next couple of years, hopefully, they need to go through this process. They need to lose. They need to know what it's like to be in a away arena with it going nuts. So I'm happy with how they pulled out the first round. I have no expectations for the second round, but they lost the first game in overtime. They lost the second game basically 1-0, and then they won today. So I'm like, they're playing great. Like they're playing as good as they can, and I have thoughts on specific players and stuff like that. But I feel good, and I don't know. I'm not a normal sports fan. I'm not like a like Obviously wins and losses are all of sports, but I'm big into the process. Like the process matters to me. So when they were winning early in the year and they looked like shit, I was like, this isn't sustainable. This is not good. And then when the process was right and they were playing better, I was like, cool, this is how I want to win. I don't want to win at all costs just so I could like talk crap to you about the Islanders. It's like, no, I want I want my team to do well and I want them to play right. So so they're playing right now. You know, like they need some more consistency from players, some certain players, but they're hanging in there.
Now, is it only been 2 years since the letter, or is it 3 years since the letter?
No, I think it's 4 or 5.
Oh, really? It's been
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
man. Like the pandemic has screwed everything up,
yeah,
man. I feel like
absolutely, yeah,
like years have just passed, and
yeah,
if I felt like that was yesterday.
hmm yeah. I think
So,
it was 2 seasons, like in the middle of, if this makes sense, the middle of 2 seasons before the pandemic.
but
So this
to
would be
to
like the 5th year, I would say.
to do like a complete overhaul that quickly,
Hmm
like that's pretty impressive, man.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned the Islanders, and I was like really promising myself to not talk about them much, but like it was like a 15-year rebuild for us.
Yeah.
So like to do it so quickly is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean it's a different time. Like I think hockey players are so, like if you play fantasy hockey, you know how hard fantasy hockey has gotten in the last 5 years or so because all the
Oh,
players are the same except for like the top 10. They're all the same. Like there's so much, same thing with like, I'm not a big baseball guy, whatever. Like there's so much coaching with athletes that only the superstar freak of nature athletes like Connor McDavid or Nathan McKinnon, those are the superstars, and everyone else is like, yeah, we score 60 points a year. Like everybody does that now. And it's because of hard work and coaching and work
systems.
ethic, it's systems, all that type of stuff. So fantasy hockey's gotten incredibly hard because there's 5 good goalies. Well, there's 5 great goalies. Everyone else is a good goalie. And then same thing with skaters. It's like the from second line down on like every team is like kind of all the same players. So that's made the NHL like hard to pick here and there. And yeah, I don't know. It's fun to watch, but the actual like we're watching Connor McDavid just literally will his entire team like to win some games here and there. Like they're winning 4-0 right now. I don't know how many points he has, but it's crazy to watch. That's how good he is. He's the only player in the world that could do what he's doing because that team stinks.
So you mentioned Connor McDavid, but I think it was because our homies and calling all captains were playing the tailgate before the game today, and they got them all pumped up.
Nice.
Yeah, it's cool when teams are starting to
Mm.
embrace some bands from the alternative scene
hmm
in their
Yeah.
like pregame stuff
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
whatnot. I love it.
Yeah. We had around our album Killing Time, which was like 2011 or so. Um, they played one of our songs in MSG a couple times. I
That's
got a little friendly with Ray Castoldi, who's like the organist and like the dude who plays the music, and he played it a couple times when I wasn't there. But whenever that was like my heyday of going to like games all the time, and I would kind of like tweet at him like, "Hey, I'm at the game, play some Bayside," and he would. So
sweet.
that was cool.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. And I'm not sure if have been watching like the actual ESPN feeds, but they brought back like their theme song
Yeah,
from
yeah,
back in the
dude.
day,
hmm
and they picked that band Joywave
hmm
to do it, which is kind of cool
Nice. I
too.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, no, I've been on board. Like the NBC broadcast for however long it's been, I was just like, it's if I'm watching on Game Center, I always pick the Canadian feed because it's so much better. And really, like TNT and ESPN, I think immediately did a way better job. Like I was so into watching all the panels, just everything about it was so much better right away than NBC was doing. So I'm very happy with what their presentation.
Now, do you miss your Rangers broadcasters during the playoffs? Because I
For sure.
truly wish that the NHL would change that, where you could
Yeah.
still get your like local feed for the
hmm
playoffs.
Yeah, I heard. So I was doing an airport drop off, and I missed like the first 5 minutes of today's game, and I put the ESPN radio feed on when I was driving, and it was Sam Rosen and Dave Maloney. So I was like, oh, there you guys are. Okay. You're on the radio. Got it. I'll luck out a little bit here and there, depending on what game it is. Kenny Albert will be calling it, and he's the normal, one of the normal Rangers radio guys. So I'm like, that feels a little bit more like home. But yeah, I mean, it takes a little bit away from it. I was lucky enough in '94 to have Sam do it, so I don't know like to call that cup for the Rangers. So I don't remember what it was like in 2014 if the Rangers had their own broadcast for the finals or not. I honestly don't remember, but yeah, I mean I'll take a cup whichever way I could get it. But it would be great to have hear Sam do that.
Yeah, I guess I don't watch many other sports as
Same.
much as I do as hockey, so I don't know if that's what they do in other sports, but it feels just like it's the most exciting time in the season. You've spent the entire year with this broadcast team, and then you like take them away when you need them the most.
Totally,
and like
yeah.
where they aren't just like saying, oh yeah, he grew up in this town, he played with this guy, and it's like they keep recycling like the same bios about like players, and it's just like we get it, like yeah, Johnny Gaudreau is from, from wherever, like it's just it's over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
So I wish that they would just let the local guys do it for people that want it.
Yeah. It's weird because I guess people have they like the ESPN guys. I'm just like, why not just have Sam do it? You know, like it'd still be ESPN. Work something out. Like, why does it have to be like a random guy who like has no affiliation to anything? Like, who is this? Is like the most generic. I mean, they're good. I don't really ever have a problem. You know who I really do love actually, and I'm glad I get to see him more now, is Ray Ferraro. I think he's really good. He's really good at what he does.
Yeah, he's mostly at like TSN though, right, or Sportsnet.
I'm not sure, but
during
he's
the
been
regular
doing ESPN. I know that much.
Yeah, that's a good old Islander reference right there.
And Ranger, oddly enough.
Yeah, not too many of those.
Yeah.
You know, as you would think down the road you would get it more often than we do, but
yeah, it's like less now. I feel like than ever.
Yeah, I like Ryan Strome is probably the last one I can think of, right?
Yeah, I can't think of anyone else. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy. I was explaining to someone today about the Rangers Hurricanes. I was like, it would be insane if they went any further than this series, but right now I'm just like, I want to go 7 games because I'm going to miss them until October. Like that's how I'm looking at it. And I got my expectations already fulfilled. I think the kids are learning, they face adversity, they are learning what it takes. So a couple of lineup tweaks. I mean, not for nothing, I think some of my friends are debating whether Panarin's hurt, and I'm like, he's not hurt. He's not straying from his game. He's putting up points. Like, he's not terrible right now, but he is not like an $11 million elite player right now. Like that's what he's getting paid like, and he is out there getting tossed around like a rag doll, and he's slowing down the play like as if he's playing like the Coyotes in February. Like he has no time and space, and that's what the Hurricanes and the Penguins have both. That's the game plan, and he's just not changing how he plays. Like, you got to change a little bit in the playoffs, and he's not. And yeah, he had that big Game 7 winner, which I'm like, of course he did, but he is just not like elite right now. Like, I think he had an assist today, cool, but when he gets the puck, it's off his stick and like going the other way more so than not these days. So that's a bummer. It's crazy they've gotten this far, like on the back of obviously like decent goaltending, but then like the kid line has been great. They're not really putting up too many points, but I think that they're showing that the Penguins and Hurricanes really care about like the Panarin line and the Zibanejad line. So then the kid line is getting like the third pair defensemen, and like they're having a little bit easier of a time, but they're actually stepping up. So the actual like line of first round draft picks like Hedl, Lafreniere, and Kako, they look great. So that's cool. And Zibanejad's my favorite player. Like, he's half Persian, I'm half Persian. Like, he's always been my favorite player, even before he was a Ranger. And he's stepped up a lot. He's had some games that were invisible, but I mean, he's going up against Crosby. You know, like he's going up against Jordan Stahl right now. It's like he at least looks like he's trying, and it works here and there. Him and Kreider have really figured out how to be like professional adult hockey players, and it's great.
Well, that line was all over the ice today.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that line won the game
For sure.
100%.
Yeah. No,
So
it's been cool, and you know, same thing with Fox. I think he's still putting up points. These guys are like putting up points, but you don't see them taking over games or shifts like you would want them to at like their price point, at their salary. So I think that's what they need to learn, is how to become a little bit more of a playoff team. Because you watch Tampa play, and you watch, you know, to a certain extent, the Canes play, and it's just like, oh, that's how you win Stanley Cups. It's like no east west BS. You know, it's like go to the net and put the puck in the net, and like that's what the Rangers could use a little bit of right now. It's like stop looking for that extra pass, stop passing up like a shooting lane to try and make your second or third fancy pass. Like, dude, this is not, you're not playing Columbus in October right now. This is for all the marbles. Like, shoot the puck.
and that's kind of like, you know, I watch the Hurricanes closely since I live in North Carolina now, and that team is just so explosive. They're so fast, and like when the Islanders play them, it's night and day how much faster they are than most teams. Like they're just explosive.
Yeah.
And their fan base, oh my god, I you know, growing up on Long Island, you just naturally have like back and forth between Islander and Ranger fans. But Hurricane fans, man, being in the building for the sweep a couple of years ago, it was brutal. Like
Yeah,
I've never gotten it like that at a Ranger game or an Islander Ranger game. Like that was really like kind of scary.
Yeah.
Like I did not feel safe.
I think that most sports are like that right now, and I think that it's like it comes from like a lot of division in the world, honestly. I think that sports is a sense of escapism, but like unhealthy fanaticism is about you being better than somebody else, and like that's not the kind of sports fan I am. I mean, I only watch hockey, and I watch hockey because of like my investment of time in my players on my team, and I want them to do well so I could be happy. It has nothing to do with me, like I said earlier, like talking shit to somebody else, you know. Like I have never been that way. I'll make fun of like to my friends of Islander stuff because it's funny. Like it's not like you guys suck, you know. Like it's not mean-hearted. I'll say funny shit and they'll laugh, you know, and then I'll take it back. I'll take the same thing, you know. Like it's fine. But yeah, I think that there's like a real. It's more so than ever. Like I could be an MSG today and be like, I hate all these people. Like I hate you're all cheering for the same thing right now, but I hate all these people. I know that they're like jerks.
Well, you saw that in Toronto when they got eliminated. There was a brawl between Maple Leafs fans. They were just fighting each other.
Yeah,
and it's like, holy cow.
I mean, they're a whole other special thing. I mean, I listen to a lot of like Sportsnet podcasts, like Jeff Marek and all that. Like that's my daily like hockey go to, and you know, I know a lot about the Leafs because of that, like Nick Kyprios and Justin Bourne. Like I listen to a lot of Maple Leaf talk, and yeah, I mean, I'm always pulling for them because they give me anxiety. They're not even my team, and they give me anxiety because I want them to do better. But yeah, I mean, them in Edmonton are just these anomalies, man. I'm like, it would drive me nuts to be like, oh, we have the best players in the world and we can't win. We refuse to play defense. Like we refuse to play defense or have a good goalie. I'm like, what? What?
Yeah, I think it's just the cap and like especially for Toronto, they have to get so creative with how they put together their lineup.
And this is the year that they're finally like, oh, this is the back end of Tavares's contract that we were all worried about. Now it's like he's losing a step. I'm like, man, this is rough. This is really rough.
It's going to be for sure. So I'm not going to put you on the spot asking you who's going to win the cup, but out of like, you know, the Florida series, who do you got there? And then the Battle of Alberta, what do you got?
When Rangers notwithstanding, I always kind of start to root for players and storylines and stuff like that. So, um, I kind of don't care about Florida. I like what they did this year. I want them to like be good for a while so they could like build their fan base. Like I don't need them to win it all this year. Three-peating for Tampa, like I guess that's good for the sport, but I don't really care if they three-peat. Like don't need that. When it comes to like Calgary, love Matthew Tkachuk. Wish he was a Ranger. Like I love that type of player. I would love for a Canadian team to win. That would be cool. Let's see. Edmonton, I think is until further notice. They're just I think they're clowns. Like I can't the whole organization. I'm just like last summer when they re-signed Mike Smith, I was just like all you needed was a goalie, and you re-signed the guy who like he gives me so much stress watching him play because he has such a like he's has a stressful style. I went to a couple of Kings Oilers games in the first round, and it was insane how he plays. Like I don't know how his teammates can feel secure with him in the net because of some of the stuff he does. It's crazy.
And he's getting old now too at this point,
Yeah,
right?
he might be 40. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh
Right.
my God.
But he's just so rogue. I don't know. It doesn't instill confidence. So I don't know. Oilers, like I have more respect for the Leafs this year than I do the Oilers. The Leafs, at least, like yeah, they got a rough draw because of the way wild cards and stuff go, and you're playing the champs. Like it's tough. The Leafs played better. I don't think they choked this year like they did last year or any of the other previous years. They just got a bad draw, and yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do with their cap. So what else is left? Who else?
And
What else
then
is in the West? Oh, St. Louis,
Colorado. Yeah.
Colorado. Yeah, I mean, if Colorado doesn't like win the cup, I don't know. Like, I don't know who does. Like St. Louis is gonna put up a fight, but Nathan McKinnon needs to like, and Cal McCarr need to like just do what McDavid's doing right now and be like, nope, we're definitely not losing in the second round again. um, so yeah, we'll see. I think
feel
the
like
Canes and Tampa should be like Canes, Tampa, Colorado, and I'll say Calgary. That should be the final four.
Yeah, and it just feels a little refreshing. There's some good storylines, like having the Battle of Florida, the Battle of Alberta. Like,
Yeah.
those are good storylines, and then Rangers back in the playoffs, and I think this year it's definitely got me still watching. Usually at this point, I'm like a bitter Islander fan, and I
Yeah.
just like I'll watch games when they pop on like a Sunday or a Saturday, but I'm invested. So
well, it's good this year too that like upsets are cool, but then ultimately 9 times out of 10, the first round upset is like gone in the second round. Like very rarely do they go on runs. So you're a hockey fan, you want to see the best on the best. So like that's why I don't really like love the wild card. I think it should always be like 1 versus 8 or something like that. And like I don't know, like Boston and Tampa were the wild cards. Like come on, like they're legitimately could win the Stanley Cup. Like I know they probably had weird regular seasons, but like Toronto got a rough deal, like the Canes almost got a rough deal. They went to 7 games with the Bruins. I don't know. I feel like it's not the best way we could run the playoffs. That's for sure.
Well, it's way better than the AHL and how they run it. So
yeah,
at least we're better than the AHL.
Yeah. So right now, I think is there any underdog like in the second round right now? Like there were no upsets in the first round, right?
I consider kind of the Rangers being an underdog right now in this series.
But like even just seeding wise, they were in this series. Yes, I mean in the first round, the higher seed moved on every round, I believe. Right, Rangers were higher, Florida was higher. Oh, Tampa was not, so that was technically an underdog. But
yeah,
not really.
like you mentioned though, the seeding it's hard to even keep track of who's the who's got the lower seed at this point.
Yeah,
with their whole wild card system that they got. But Nick, let's plug away real quick because you got that killer tour with Thrice coming up in a couple of days. So that's making its way across the East Coast, right? I saw a New York date or
Kinda
Albany
like
date.
yeah, it's like northeast Midwest. It's not even East Coast. Like I don't think we go any further south than like Baltimore or something like that. So like Mid Atlantic kind of. Um, but yeah, co-headlining with Thrice. We got a band called Anxious opening up. They're a younger band. I'm really stoked for. I mean the whole tour, but because of COVID, our actual hometown show on our 21st anniversary tour was a little weird. We played Terminal 5, which would have been like the biggest venue that we've headlined in New York, but at that time, New York City didn't allow any indoor events unless you were vaccinated. So everyone at a show had to be vaccinated. So we were missing like hundreds, if not like 1,000 people because people didn't even have a choice to get like show negative tests. So our hometown like 21st anniversary show was like the smallest New York City show we've had in probably a decade. So that being said, I'm really excited for our show. We're playing Pier 17, which is like outside with the city behind us.
Is
I'm
that where
so
like Sad
excited.
Summer was?
Probably. I know it's been around for a minute, but I mean, just, if you're a New Yorker and you like us, like, I really think it's going to be a really special night just to like see us with the city behind us outdoors during the summer in New York. Like,
Oh
what could be
yeah,
better than that?
seriously.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm really excited about that. And I hope we get to like make up some of that bad luck we had with COVID and all that for our New York City show. Cause we're from New York, and it's crazy that like our New York show was less good than like our Chicago or Vegas show, just because of circumstances. So yeah, we got that going on. We have a couple shows in July too. We're playing with Manchester Orchestra and Group Love out in Long Island in Patchogue. We're playing the Great South Bay Brewery Festival.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, and then there's a couple more shows after that, and then a bunch of festivals uh, in September and October, including When We Were Young, which is going to be a lot of fun out in Vegas.
Oh, that's and who knows? They'll probably keep adding dates on, but
I hope,
as
man.
it gets
I don't know
closer.
why they stopped at 3. I thought it would be 4 for sure because the thing sold out in like seconds every time. So,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, I love Vegas. Like, I consider that one of my like second homes, honestly. Like, I just truly love it. And they love Bayside, which is great. So I'm really happy that we get to be a part of that festival.
yeah. It definitely got people talking, and
Yeah.
it was it came out of nowhere. I'm sure you guys obviously all knew, but like for
It's if you have a second, it's really crazy because when we were on our anniversary tour, our booking agent came in and was like, "All right, so there's this big festival in Vegas. All I could tell you is Mike Chem's one of the headliners. Do you want to do it?" And we were like, "Okay, sure." Literally, like, why there was so much confusion about it is because bands didn't know the lineup. I think that the pitch was Mike Chem's playing it. Do you want to
and
play?
that's
And we
and
were
that's
like,
all
sure, that's all you
that's all
need.
it took. Oh,
A
wow.
week or so before, we heard the other headliner was Paramore, and I was like, oh wow, this is gonna be like huge. So really, to see that every band from our genre was on it was a shock to a lot of people. So I think that fake news has never come closer to my life, like my personal life. I did a whole radio show debunking every single thing that like people were making up. Like so quickly people forget how Warp Tour worked. People are like, how are these many bands going to play in one day? I'm like, what? Like Warp Tour's only been dead for like under a decade. Like, what are you talking about? Do you remember seeing 20 bands in a day? Like
I
they
think
play 30 minutes. Like, I don't know.
everyone was just mad that it wasn't happening in their city, and they were
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
"Shit, man, I can't get to Vegas." Like
yeah. Totally.
that's at least what I felt. I was like, "Oh, why couldn't this be on
Yeah.
the East Coast so I could get to it a lot easier?"
Yeah, I mean, I would consider it a success already because it sold out like probably 150,000 tickets total, like in minutes. So yeah, maybe there's like my what I said about the Star Wars Star Cruiser. It's like new ideas that are good ideas need to be supported, so we keep getting new iterations of them. So like hopefully this goes off without a hitch, and yeah, maybe next year it'll be East Coast West Coast or something like that, like do or a tour or something like that. I don't know, I'm making things up, I have no knowledge, but if it goes well, I'm sure there'll be more dates or more cities or something. Why wouldn't there be?
Amen. Well, I wish you the best in all your projects. Wish you the best on these tours and festivals, man. And I really hope that at least you get a few more games of this series, and maybe it goes to 7. can happen in Game 7. So,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
I'm jealous that you're getting to watch hockey in sunny weather. Well, you always live in sunny weather, so that
Yep,
doesn't count. But
exactly.
like, thing about watching hockey wearing shorts, I just love it. So I'm
Yep, it's
kind of
great.
jealous.
Yeah. Oh, so here's how I know that the Rangers have not been in the playoffs in 5 years, because this is my first postseason, Rangers postseason. I've lived in California for 5 years now, so it has been that long. That whole bubble nonsense didn't really count. Because they
Yeah,
were in,
I agree.
they were like the top 20. They were like the 24th team or something to make it that year, something like that.
Yep, that was a weird year, and of course, that's the year that so like the in my lifetime. We
Yeah.
couldn't even go to those games. So,
Yep. Exactly.
well, Nick, I truly appreciate you coming on here, and be another like 160 episodes to get you on for a third time. But
Yeah. Anytime. I got my own mic set
yeah,
up now. We're good.
and just two Deer Park boys who have made it in podcast land, I guess.
Thank goodness.
Well, Nick, I'll let you go, man. Thanks again, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks for having me.
All right, see ya.